third graders. This week we're going to be learning about two-dimensional shapes and their attributes. Now, attributes is a fancy math word. It's just a word that means things you can use to describe something, features or details. For example, you could say some of my attributes are brown hair, or glasses is an attribute that I have. It's the same for shapes. If you're talking about a circle, an attribute could be that it is curved, or an attribute of a triangle could be that it has three sides. Now in this video there's going to be a lot of important new words and important details about shapes. There's going to be a lot of important shape names and details in this video. You're going to want to get your math journal and a pencil so you can take notes and pause the video as I go along to copy things down. So, go get your tools and I'll see you back here in a minute. Shapes can be grouped into lots of different families depending on which attributes or details we focus on. By focusing on 2D shapes in this lesson, we've actually already split shapes into two categories. There are 3D, which stands for three-dimensional shapes, like this cube bookend that I have. See how it takes up space, three-dimensional. That's compared to a two-dimensional shape, like we're going to study this week. Those are flat, and they can be made like this square on paper. So, let's keep talking about two-dimensional shapes. 2D shapes can have curved sides like a circle, or they can have straight sides like this square. They can also be closed. See how the circle has no openings and neither does the square? We would call those closed shapes. But there are open two-dimensional shapes, like this curved line, like a U. It's open on one side. Or maybe I draw most of the square, but I leave an open space. These are what we call open shapes. And these two are closed shapes. So, we're going to talk about a special part of the polygon family. Nope. So, we're going to zoom in on a special family in the 2D shapes called polygons. Polygons are closed shapes with straight sides. So if I go back to my earlier picture, the square is a polygon, but the circle is not a polygon because it has curved sides. Neither of these shapes are polygons because they are open. In the polygon family, you can divide it into even more groups. These groups are organized by how many sides they have. But remember, they're all still going to be polygons because they're all closed shapes with straight sides. In the polygon family, we have the triangles. These all have three sides in the triangle family. They don't all have to look like this triangle. You've seen lots of different triangles. There's some that have right angles, there's some that are tall and pointy, but they're all still triangles because they have three sides and they are closed shapes, and they have straight sides. Triangles are a particular type of polygon. Another group in the polygon family are the quadrilaterals. Quadrilaterals all have four sides, like that square we looked at earlier. In fact, you'll notice as I go through here that the polygons all have special names depending on how many sides they have. Let's just draw a little dividing line so we don't get mixed up. Other quadrilaterals you might know include rectangles. Let's not a perfect drawing of a rectangle. They would still have straight sides, even though sometimes I'm not the best at drawing the straight sides. There are lots of other four-sided shapes, though. You might think about rhombuses or trapezoids. But as long as they have four sides, they are a quadrilateral, a polygon that has four sides. In the polygon family, there are also the pentagons. They have 5 sides. The hexagons with 6 sides. And the octagons, like a stop sign, with 8 sides. Octagon, 8 sides. If you have trouble remembering which are which, you can look at the parts of the word. Like this chunk oct, you might know from octopus because it has 8 legs, an octagon has 8 sides. In all the others, there are chunks that have the same meaning as how many sides they have. The hex part in hexagon, the penta part in pentagon, quad in quadrilateral, just like the kind of quad you might ride around on that has 4 wheels. All polygons, though, all closed shape with straight sides, they fit into special groups depending on how many sides they have. Even other numbers than these, for example, nonagon has 9 sides, things like that. But for your work in 3rd grade, these are the big 5. Triangles, quadrilaterals, pentagons, hexagons, and octagons. Whew, that was a lot of shapes. Okay. We've still got a little more to cover, but we need to get up and move around. Go on a shape hunt in your house. Pause the video and see how many of the polygons we talked about you can find. Tell someone who lives in your house with you what makes each polygon that special type you found. For example, maybe you find something that's a pentagon. Explain to your person why it's a pentagon. I'll see you in a minute. Now let's take a look at our workbook pages for this week. We're going to do pages 188 and 189. On this page, it's talking about rectangles. There's the group of rectangles here and a group of things that are not rectangles. You're going to need to tell 4 attributes that are shared by all the shapes in the rectangle group. Now, the first couple might be simple, but you might be struggling by the time you get to 3 or 4. They've given you a word bank down here to help you out. It talks about the different kinds of angles the shape might have, right angles or L-shaped angles, obtuse angles, the big wide ones, and acute angles, which are the really pointy ones. I remember that these ones are the smallest angles because they're so cute and little. They're acute angles. It also talks about parallel lines and perpendicular lines. Parallel lines are 2 lines that will never touch no matter how far or how long they go. Perpendicular lines meet in right angles. There are other important words in the word bank like symmetrical, when something is the same on both sides. Line of symmetry, the line you would draw where you fold it and it's the same on both sides. Straight, curved, and closed and open shapes, which we talked about earlier. These will help you out a lot when you do number 1 and number 2, in which number 2, you need to say why these ones are not rectangles. What kept them out of that family? This page is similar. There's 2 groups of shapes, and then there are some other shapes that need to be sorted. It's asking you to circle the shapes that belong in group B. Then tell what's the attribute that they have in common. How can you tell if a shape is a hexagon? If you were paying attention earlier in my video, you'll know. And prove that you know it by circling all the hexagons. When I was drawing earlier, I drew what's known as regular shapes, the ones where each side is the same length. But you could get crazy with your hexagon. You could make some of the sides longer than the others. But as long as it has 6 straight sides, it's still a hexagon. All right, that's all for now. I'll see you in the next video.